I think to summarize this year of pandemic very briefly, I would say it was scientific success coupled with political failure. From a scientific perspective, it was really an amazing year. Humanity has never been so powerful, so able to understand and to stop the pandemic. In previous big epidemics in history, humanity was almost completely helpless. When the Black Death spread and killed millions in the 14th century, nobody understood what was happening or how to stop the disease. Similarly, when Europeans came to America in the 15th and 16th century, they brought with them diseases from the old world, like smallpox, that spread throughout America and killed up to 90% of the population, the native population of America. And again, nobody understood what was happening, what was causing this wave of epidemics, and how to stop them. Even 100 years ago, when the big influenza epidemic of 1918 spread and killed between 50 and 100 million people, scientists were unable to isolate the virus and to find ways to stop it or to develop vaccines. In contrast, with COVID, once the alarm bells began ringing at the end of December 2019, that there is some new infectious disease in Wuhan, it took only 2 weeks, that's all, 2 weeks, to identify the virus correctly, to sequence its entire genetic code, and even to develop tests to know who has the virus and who doesn't. And then within a couple of more months, scientists discovered how to effectively slow down and even stop the chains of infection. And within a year, we already have several vaccines, effective vaccines, in mass production. So this is enormous scientific success. But at the same time, we are also seeing political failure. These tools that science gives us, they need to be implemented, they need to be used correctly. And this is not the job of scientists. This is the job of politicians to create policy, to make decisions. And here we saw terrible failure. Some countries did relatively okay, even very well. You look at New Zealand, Australia, Vietnam, Taiwan, you see huge successes. But other countries, like the USA, like Brazil, the response of the federal government was really terrible, leading to hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths. And even more so, we didn't see any global leadership. You didn't see the emergence of any, leader or group of leaders who understand what is happening and seek to protect humanity as a whole and stop the spread of this pandemic all over the world. We had the understanding, we had the tools. Again, this is not the Middle Ages, when people just didn't understand what was happening. We have the tools, we have the knowledge, but we don't have the political wisdom. This year, the COVID year, has not made me very optimistic about our ability to face ecological collapse and climate change. Climate change is much bigger than COVID. It's much more complicated than COVID. If we can't organize global cooperation to face the pandemic, then we don't, how much chance do we really have against climate change? So I hope, it's not too late. Nothing is deterministic. It's still in our hands. So I hope that this pandemic will actually serve as a wake-up call. That look what happens to the world, look what happens to the global economy from one virus, from one bat. Now think, what would be the consequences of an entire ecological collapse? So I hope that people, and especially business people, especially the leaders of industries, of banks, of financial institutions, they will the lesson they will draw from COVID is that it's in our interest. It's not some kind of fuzzy altruism. It's in our interest to prevent pandemics by investing money in building some kind of global health authority to protect humanity from pandemics. And similarly, it's in our interest to prevent ecological collapse, because the consequences will be really catastrophic. It's not too late to do it. It's our decision. Again, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. It's a political decision. It's a question of priorities. What is your first priority? And I hope we make better decisions next time.